And I hope you're not planning to go through that whole binder.
I slept less than 2 hours last night preparing the binder, but I will not go through the entire binder.
Okay.
I will only give you highlights.
But
Mr.
you're going to give
Chairman,
us the binder.
You're each getting a binder, yes, sir. I hope
Okay.
it's helpful to you.
Yeah.
And
And we certainly all invite you to come by and visit with us and go through those page by page, but let's don't do it today.
Understood.
And we can take them to the offices, but if you want us to go, do you have things you want us to look at inside there?
Yes, sir.
Okay, well, let's go ahead and...
But I want to respect protocol. I know you don't have your
Yeah.
clerk
Tell me
here.
who he is and what his stance is on the bill.
Okay, go ahead and say your name and
Yes, sir.
what your stance is on the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Ware Wendell. I'm the Executive Director for Texas Watch, a nonprofit, nonpartisan consumer advocacy organization. We are respectfully opposed to House Bill 1774.
And why do you think they use blue tarps instead of just gray tarps?
Seems to be what they sell at Home Depot
No.
and Lowe's, sir.
I've just seen a lot of blue tarps in relation to stuff with your name on it.
Yes,
so
sir.
I didn't know if you coined that phrase or...
We feel it's important for folks around the state to understand the effect of this bill, Mr. Chairman.
Well, I was doing a little... looking at online obituaries back at home because I'm not there to make sure. See, and lo and behold, here comes a pop-up right there. Blue
Yes, sir.
tarps, and it was you.
The stakes could not be higher for Texans around this state. This bill has the potential to affect millions of Texas property owners.
Generally, it'll affect all Texas property owners that suffer weather, a certain type of weather claim, basically weather storms. So go ahead.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name again is Ware Wendell. I've prepared a binder for you. I'm going to touch on the highlights of the binder. And Ms. Reed was nice enough to talk with me yesterday. I understand we want to keep testimony brief, and I will.
Yeah, we've got it. I was going to get through them 5:30, so that's 5, 10, 20 minutes, and we still have 10 people to go.
Yes, sir. We advocate for policyholders. We have since 1998. And when a policyholder has a dispute with an insurance company, this is a David versus Goliath scenario. That's the fight. And the 5 smooth stones that policyholders have are the laws that protect them in this state and have for many years now. These are balanced laws. They were reformed in 1995 to give the insurance companies many rights and remedies that others do not possess in this state. You can think of insurance as a 3-legged stool. You have rates, and you have coverage, and the third would be claims handling protections. Well, we've heard testimony, Mr. Chairman, about what's happened on rates in reference to Representative Turner's bill from last week. Insurance companies can file and use their rates, and typically they're able to get what they want. The same happens on property coverage forms. We know that because we filed an open records request with TDI, and almost every single property form has been approved. Only 3 endorsements in one form had been disapproved, dating back to, I believe, 1999. The third leg of the stool would be claims handling protections. And we're at threat of that third leg of the stool being sawed off this session. I know that may not be the intent, but I'm very concerned that it would be the real-world effect. And that, Mr. Chairman, is why we've talked about blue tarps blanketing this state.
Go tell them.
No, we didn't explain.
Go ahead.
I'm struck by the irony of the fact that insurance companies in this state have their full complement of legal rights. State Farm extended a lawsuit for almost 12 years, taking the case up and down through our court system.
That has nothing to do with the bill before us. If we can get to the bill before us, whether we think insurance companies should, whatever, can you just kind of focus on this, on the legislation we have before us? Hate to do that. We're running out of time. I don't know enough, and I don't have time for you to tell me about why State Farm did or what they did or didn't do. That has nothing to do with this bill.
I will say, Mr. Chairman, that the articles are in the binder for
Yes,
you, and I'm
thank
happy
you.
to talk with you at a time that's convenient for you,
You
Mr.
bet.
Chairman. I want to talk about the TDI report and the data because that has been discussed in reference to the bill, if I may, sir.
Sure, certainly.
TDI gives a report every year to the legislature. It's the biennial report, and in it they highlight pressing concerns for your consideration. This issue was not listed in the TDI biennial report. This issue is not mentioned in their report. And that's why we've called into question the characterization of this issue. I think it's important to realize that since 2012, 13 of the 31 largest storms to hit this state in recorded history have occurred. That's according to information from the Insurance Council of Texas. I'm talking about their own information. And in that time, with bigger storms hitting populated areas, the insurance industry has paid 10% fewer claims, 10% fewer hail claims. Bigger storms hitting more people, they're paying fewer claims. That is going to lead to more disputes, and that will ultimately lead to more lawsuits. The reopen rate, this is page 33 of the TDI report, and I have it in my written testimony for you in tab 1. If you flip to, let's see, the second page of graphs there, you'll see that insurance companies basically turn a blind eye to their customers unless and until an attorney is involved. They do not reopen claims in significant numbers until an attorney is involved. And last, TDI has shown that our market is very competitive. We're now the 9th largest insurance market in the entire world. And I have the NAIC figures for universe, yes, sir. All known life forms, yes, sir. There was a lot of testimony about profits, and I want you to know that I've given you from TDI all of the profits from 2012 on net underwriting profits. It totals more than $4.5 billion for homeowners insurance. That is understating their total profit because a large part of the insurance business model is investment income. And when you look at NAIC figures, which is after-tax figures, that's return on net worth, you'll see that from 2012 to 2014, Texas insurers outperformed the national average. The concern here, Mr. Chairman, and this is why I was talking about State Farm, is that...
Please work it back in. I'm sure we probably need to go into that. I got a section here we can read about. In fact, why don't we just go to it? Why don't we just read it to all of us? So we're going to talk about State Farm. I hate to be that way, but we really don't have time.
I was just going to touch briefly on it, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. I'm apparently not going to stop you from doing that, so go ahead.
The concern, Mr. Chairman, is that McKinsey & Company, the world's largest consulting firm, was reported to have informed some of the largest insurers how they can make more money by denying claims longer. And that is the genesis of what we're talking about today, Mr. Chairman. We're very concerned in House Bill 1774, including in the substitute, as to the fact that the penalty for slow payment has been reduced basically by half, from 18% down to 10%. For these nature-related property claims, that we're going to federal court with these cases, and you do have the information there, Mr. Chairman, on federal courts. I can point you to the report if that's helpful. It's page 14 of my report. So, Representative Sanford, I have the cites in there for you. It's page 14 of the report about how it takes much longer to get justice in federal court as compared to state court. And then on notice, I'm struck, and we have a couple of lawyers on this panel, on the dais rather, at the discrepancy between the fair notice pleading standards when you file a lawsuit versus what this notice is requiring, the specificity of it. The fair notice requirement does not require the pleader to plead evidentiary matters with meticulous particularity. That's State Fiduciary Mortgage Company versus Varner. And on the cover sheet that we attach to a lawsuit, if we file a lawsuit, Mr. Chairman, we have to indicate whether it's a $100,000 case, $200,000 case, $1 million case. You don't have to plead with the specificity that the bill currently requires.
But the bill would require it, so then you'd have to. That's the purview of the legislature to do that.
And we're very concerned about what the effect is for consumers. Also, there's no requirement for the insurance companies to make an offer of settlement in response to that notice. I've given you a poll from Hill Research Consultants, which is a nationally respected Republican polling firm. They tested the insurer position, the consumer position. I won't belabor that now other than to say that policyholders want their rights maintained or increased companies.
And Donald Trump got elected when everybody said he wouldn't too. So I wonder about that poll.
The polls are actually talks about that populist wave that's happening right now. The last thing I'll say is that 1,782 Texans have contacted you, and more will be contacting you. They don't have lobbyists. What they have is you. And they can send you a letter and hope that you read it and hope that you open your heart and take their concerns into consideration. And you can tell I'm passionate about this because I'm very concerned about this. I will just close by saying, Mr. Chairman, that we ask you respectfully to stand for your families, your businesses, your schools, and your churches, and represent them as you consider this bill. And we respectfully urge you to oppose House Bill 1774.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Any other questions? All right.